Welcome to Black Sheep's Time to Shine. Please remember to keep a little magic in each day, and that the little things in each day do indeed matter. One of the reasons why I carry these wands around all the time, to give myself a little reminder to do the same. Now, in today's video, we're going to talk about dating after a narcissist. And we all know it can be a devastating experience dating a narcissistic person where you thought maybe you found your one, the soulmate, the person that you were going to spend the rest of your life with, only for them to begin to devalue you, discard you, and then maybe cycle you through the stages, love bombing, devaluing, discarding. And ultimately, it can leave you empty, it can leave you feeling devastated, confused, untrusting of anyone in the future, including yourself, and it's just an overall unpleasant experience getting the rug pulled out from underneath you like that. Devastating. And that's why the first step in this is to heal the trauma bond. And to me, the best way to heal the trauma bond is no contact. Now, in a situation where there's co-parenting involved, you might have to do least amount of contact necessary, gray rock or yellow rock, but ideally, no contact. And this also means no sleeping with them either, because I feel like every time you sleep with them, the whole process can get reset as well. So no contact, no sleeping with them, gray rock or yellow rock if you must be in communication with them. And just a reminder, the gray rock is very non-emotional, keeping it to logistics, don't share things personal about yourself, and yellow rock is just a touch more warmth in that regard, but not much, because sometimes the narcissistic person in a co-parenting scenario, they can get annoyed if it's too much gray rock. So perhaps yellow rock would be best in that situation. But this is all part of the process of healing the trauma bond. The indicator, though, how do we know we've healed the trauma bond, is when we no longer think that their presence will make things all better. I know for me, even after tons of disrespect, I thought, if I could just spend time with her and have fun with her, I don't care about the rest. It'll just make me feel better. And it was true for a while until I healed the trauma bond. And then I saw through it. So part of healing the trauma bond also, besides going no contact, is taking a look at our side of the street and thinking about what was it about them that attracted us to them to begin with. And for me, it was I wasn't quite happy enough on my own. I didn't have a good enough belief in myself. And I liked the feelings that this girl gave me. And it was kind of like an otherworldly experience. And that's something true of a lot of cluster Bs. They provide, especially in the love bombing, an otherworldly type feel where it can be like an escape from your own life. But it's going to be different for everybody, though. Everyone's going to have a different reason why they were attracted to the narcissistic person in their life. Maybe they wanted to save them. They portrayed themselves as weak and vulnerable, and you wanted to save them. That would be more true for a covert type. But in a grandiose type, they probably felt a little otherworldly. They tried to sweep you off of your feet, and they just gave you all sorts of good feelings and tried to overwhelm you with all sorts of love and attention. But whatever it was, these are the indicators of things that we got to take a look at in our own lives. Now, we should also consider their behaviors too, though. Think about what were they gaslighting us about. Think about what they were like in the love bombing phase. How did it start to switch up into the devaluing stage? And then what a discard is exactly what it sounds like. But there's clues in all of those steps, right? So one of the big things about being single, and I do think people should be single for at least 6 months, just to try to reestablish who they are and develop a very strong belief in yourself. Work on your mindset. The way I do that in my own life is lots of affirmations, self-hypnosis, and I'm very careful about how I talk to myself. I refuse to speak anything negative about myself. Now, there's a difference, though, between honesty and self-awareness and honestly reflecting on what I can do better, and then talking badly about me. To me, those are two different things. I don't try to talk badly about myself, but I will acknowledge reality, and I will acknowledge, honestly, the things I really do need to work on. But that's a huge one, working on the mindset. And then becoming gaslighting proof, which of mindset is the first step. But then the second step would be think about the things they gaslit us about. Maybe they were picking at our insecurities or our vulnerabilities or whatever. And we have to accept those things about ourselves, whatever they were. So maybe they were picking at something about how we looked. When we own our weaknesses and our vulnerabilities, if they even are weaknesses and vulnerabilities, but when we own everything about ourselves, they can no longer be used against us. And that's essential. And then someone would say to me, well, don't you know what gaslighting is? Maybe they were just lying. It's like, yes, maybe they were just lying. And that's where the strong belief in ourselves comes in, where we recognize they're just lying. I don't need to believe what this person says. Because often we cared a little bit too much what they thought. If they were really affecting us with their gaslighting, that's where the strong belief in yourself, plus owning all of our weaknesses and vulnerabilities, they won't be able to touch us in that regard. So once we're single, though, we've cut off the contact with the narcissistic person, trauma bond is healed, then we worked on our mindset a little bit, accepted our vulnerabilities, and then we want to develop a life, develop and cultivate things in our own lives. Maybe we should set goals for ourselves in work. Maybe there's body goals that we want, or maybe there's just another hobby we want to explore. It doesn't really matter what, but I think it's super important to have goals and have it be something that actually excites us, something that engages us. And this teaches us to have a little self-love for ourselves, because I'm very convinced that most people that have fallen for a narcissistic person probably had something going on their own side of the street, not quite happy on their own, maybe had a little bit of a void they were trying to fill, but there was almost always something. And they always say, or in the book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, he says, healthy people are not attracted to unhealthy people, and vice versa. And I do agree with that, really. So there's always things that we can look at on our side. And you might be asking yourself now, this is supposed to be about dating after a narcissist. Why are you talking about all this stuff, the trauma bond and being single? And I'm doing it because this is what's important. We got to set the groundwork so that we're the best version of ourselves when we go back to dating. I'm a huge advocate of being the right person is much more important than finding the right person. When we be the right person, we trust ourselves to have boundaries. We trust ourselves to leave if we're constantly being mistreated or disrespected. Because that is one thing a lot of people just can't seem to do. They don't know how to leave. And yes, when there's a trauma bond, it absolutely makes it harder to leave. But there's times when people stay because they're afraid to be alone. They don't know how to be alone. So they stick it out through terrible, toxic situations. The antidote to this is being okay on your own. That part is humongous. Yeah, so this is why it's important to be okay on our own. We got to set the groundwork so that when we enter the relationships and the dating world again, we know what we're doing and we trust ourselves. So then we finally get out into the dating world. What are my recommendations then? I would say we got to set some rules for ourselves. So maybe only see someone once a week or twice a week. And some people may say, oh, that just sounds too robotic. You got to go with the flow more. But I think it's important to have boundaries for ourselves and then respect them, honor them. And the people who are good for us, I think they will be okay with those kinds of boundaries. Because often a narcissistic person, they do want to sweep you off your feet. They do want to overwhelm you with all of the positive attention and love bombing. And when they do that, though, it makes it more likely that someone loses themselves in the process. That's why I think it's good to have time boundaries like that. And then, you have fun while also just observing how they are. Now, people called me out before about the test I had for narcissism because, oh, it's a sneaky thing to do to give that test. But here's the thing. Just in the normal course of relationships, there will be disagreements. There will be conflicts. There will be times where you should call someone's behavior out or tell them no. And in the natural course of things, when those events come up, I think it's important to pay attention to how the other person reacts. Now, do they accept it? Do they say, okay, yeah, I can understand you have a differing point of view on this. I can understand your no. I can understand your boundary here. Do they respect your boundaries? Or, will they gaslight? Will they flip the script back on you? Will they guilt and shame? Will they be passive aggressive? Will they stonewall or give you the silent treatment? But these are all things to pay attention to. Because if that's how they handle conflicts, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. And anyone can be good in a love bombing scenario, like in a honeymoon phase, right? Anyone can be good in that. But when reality hits, and there's actually conflicts and things to go through, that's how you know what kind of person you can really work with. Like, what kind of person can you be a team with? Because if you can't handle conflicts together, if you can't handle disagreements together, and you can't respect someone's boundaries, that's not a good teammate. Because like I said, in the lovey-dovey phase, the love bombing phase, where they swept you off your feet, and you're feeling like in another world, you've escaped your own reality with them, that's not really real, right? That's just the love bombing part, the honeymoon part. And to me, the difference is, like between a love bomb and just a regular honeymoon phase, is the love bombing will not be quite as genuine, right? And sometimes the narcissistic people, their mask is pretty sharp, especially the covert varieties. They can have a mask up for a while, but patience is key in these regards. Eventually, the mask could slip at one point or another. In particular, during the conflicts, disagreements, placing of boundaries, or being told no. Those are the times the mask is most likely to slip. But again, we have rules for ourselves. Only see somebody a certain amount of times. Have fun. Be patient. And just see how they go. Now, oftentimes, though, after a narcissistic relationship, the pendulum for people can swing too far in the other direction, where at the first sign of trouble, they just bounce, cut people off. And I would say part of that is a normal part of getting better. Just like learning to yourself that, yeah, I can do this. I can cut somebody off if necessary. Now, hopefully, we do get a good amount of balance with it at some point. There is a difference between narcissistic people and just people who have normal shortcomings and defects. Everyone has shortcomings and defects. And I think part of the healing process can be, yeah, sometimes people can go too far. But we just got to get to the balance with it. But I think it's important to prove to yourself, yeah, I can cut people off if necessary. I can say no and have boundaries if necessary. And then we can adjust them accordingly in the future. But that's basically the long and short of dating again after a narcissist. It starts with ourselves, though. It starts with learning what attracted them to us to begin with. What was it about them? Were we not okay on our own? Did we want an escape from our own life? Whatever it was, we got to heal the parts of ourselves that was attracted to them to begin with. And then we build our life. Build a mindset. Build a strong belief in yourself. Accept your vulnerabilities and weaknesses. That takes humility. Develop hobbies. 'Cause that's another big one. People who are narcissistic and or codependent, not many of them have hobbies. They might have one thing, but often their hobbies are lacking. So that's something to look at too. But, have goals. Cultivate your own life. Have things in your life you're really looking forward to outside of a romantic setting. These things are all key. Time away from the relationship, at least 6 months, I would say. And then when you get back into the dating world, patience. Patience is key. Have some rules for yourself. Only see somebody once a week, twice a week max in the beginning. Because that's the other thing. You don't want to let them overwhelm you with all this attention. That's where the boundaries can get blurry. The narcissistic person, they want to blend with somebody. Borderline people do this too. But they want to blend so that you're basically enmeshed, where you're just one person. And there is no more boundaries anymore. There's no more autonomy. You want to avoid that situation. So you have that going on, and you have fun while observing what's going on. And in the normal course of a relationship, there will be disagreements, there will be times to place a boundary, conflicts, telling them no, and pay attention to how they respond in those scenarios, right? And see what they're like too. Make sure they're not just mirroring your likes and dislikes. Make sure they have their own identity. And also pay attention to how their previous relationships ended. Do they take accountability for their side of it? Do they take any responsibility at all? Or do they say, my partner was just crazy. They were all crazy. They did me dirty. Because I think a healthy way to go will be to say, yes, I wasn't perfect in the relationship either. And to keep it to ourselves, as opposed to just blaming the other person. Even if it's true sometimes, right? Yeah, of course. Sometimes they did do us dirty, for sure. But recognizing, there's things I could have done in the relationship better. And those are the things that I've been working on. I think that's important too, because it shows that you can be accountable. It shows that you can take personal responsibility for your side of the street. Again, more important to be the right person than it is to find the right person. So that's basically how I would suggest dating after a narcissist. Maybe you have other suggestions you would like to put in the comments below. And some of this will also depend on each individual scenario, because this is just a general guideline. There will be differences for each individual person. So with that, please remember to like the video if you liked it, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when I come up with more videos, and comment below what you thought of the video, and also share this with other people that you think might benefit from hearing this message. And remember, like I said in the beginning, keep a little magic in each day, and remember, the little things in life matter. That's very important. So over and out.